Betting I go do to make you stay for days. Is this love enough? Yeah, you know I got the stamina. One me now. I bet I want me now. Give me all that. Baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. I'm a dada. Baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Unsavory Politique here with your host Jamar Jabari and Alex Suarez, who is a historian and educator. And we are here to talk about a lot of things today. So I want to make sure that everybody is well aware of what's going on. And that's what we had a crazy weekend. Let me tell you, you have saw some of the videos of the updates that I was given on Greta on TikTok. And thank you for the support. Alex, it was literally 3 different posts talking about what's going on, and there was thousands of views and hundreds of likes. So that's very, very important. So everybody on TikTok, come over to ConnectHub, come support this show. We definitely need you because we keep the conversation
Greta has
going.
lost a lot of support.
Yeah.
It's just the youth that still support her. I mean, the media, where she was a darling of the Western media, they've abandoned her because she's changed her focus. Well, she still is a climate activist, but on the human rights, including Palestine. We'll get into that. We'll show videos of that later. But it's kind of tragic what's happening with Greta, and she really deserves our support right now.
Yeah, and the first video, we're going to show 2 videos, one from an MMA fighter, but the first video is from Joe Rogan, basically making fun of Greta.
Despicable.
And her activism. Yeah, honestly, like the actually, we'll just talk about that in a second about Joe Rogan.
Yeah, let's show what he actually said.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go right to it, and then the next video will be about a UFC fighter who is supporting. He's an Irishman supporting Palestine.
Yeah.
Oh, like George Washington making its way to Gaza.
Whatever the environment,
bro,
though.
it's like there she is.
Is the environment done?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
She's got a nice boat.
From the river to the rising sea levels.
She's gonna
Not
fix
bad,
it,
dude.
She's gonna break the
Not
Israeli
bad.
naval
Really
blockade.
great.
I'm working on
I should
it.
got more.
Bro, those IDF guys are gonna turn her into cat food. They will light her up from the fucking shore before she's even close. They don't play no
Everyone's
games.
gonna.
They don't play
Both sides are gonna blow that boat.
Yeah, they don't play
Second
no
they
games.
see it.
Yeah.
They actually maybe come together on who gets to blow it up. Maybe that can bridge the gap here.
She could
Could
be
be.
sacrificing herself for all of us.
Well, she could be just the best person ever.
Nothing greener
Or
than killing yourself.
She could be someone that they take advantage of and
How-
use at the front of the line for every cause.
Ooh,
It's one of those.
She's a young kid, man. It's so crazy to take a young kid and like put them
Alter
as
their
the,
lives. This
Yeah.
is going to be your life now forever.
You're the face of X, Y, and Z.
This
You're
is
the
this
face.
is
Look,
this is
even if it's not up to her, and it is obviously not obviously, but it could be out of her hands. She probably has handlers and political shit. But
Oh,
it's like,
for now.
at least she's
trying.
She is trying.
Gainfully employed.
she's trying
Who cares?
Yeah, gainfully
But this
employed.
is when they're going to Palestine. It's like those people going to the unchartable islands and be like, "Hi, I'm Christian."
Just spear you immediately.
Yeah, like North Sentinel Island.
Jesus, you've forsaken me.
that shit's crazy.
bro.
Or the white social worker who goes into Baltimore ghetto. He's like, hey, everybody, I'm here. And they just beat the fuck out of him.
Oh, let's make sure everybody's unmuted. I'm not going to lie, Alex Suarez. That last clip after hearing those 3 white dudes just literally just degrade, and then we get it. They're comedians. They're supposed to joke, but like those, we can tell that they are dead serious with their opinion about the situation. And Ari Shaffir, who is also Jewish, and I think he's atheist Jewish, because he doesn't practice the faith. Ari
Well, he's
Shafir,
probably a Zionist. Herzl was a non-religious
right?
Jew who started the Zionist movement.
Exactly. This is how this all started with atheist Jewish people that
Right.
were Zionists. That were atheist Zionists. That's the correct term. Atheist Zionists started Israel, for people that don't know. So hearing him say stuff like that and compare Palestine to a untouched tribe that chooses
that's
to
how
be
they see
untouched.
them. They see them as
That's
so
racist.
savage, and their real views come out in their jokes. But nothing like watching an Irishman pelt the Zionists while yelling "Free Palestine." That was pretty nice to see that after. Yeah.
Ireland is so 10 toes down for Palestine.
I
It's
believe
just
Ireland and
amazing.
Spain are the only EU countries that have stopped arms sales to Israel. This was
Right.
after more than a year since the genocide. But
Right.
I believe the prime ministers Pedro Sánchez has been the prime minister of Spain. He's kind of progressive. But the prime minister of Ireland's fairly new, and he was elected in by people that were sympathetic with Palestine. So
And
he's been
he's
able
half
to
Indian, right?
force on that.
The new
What's that?
prime minister, he's half Indian. He's Irish and he's also Indian, right? I know that he's a person of color.
Background, but I know that there was a prime minister under Biden who went to the United States and said something that was not even very pro-Palestine. It was kind of even-handed.
Right.
And then he returned home and was deposed. Well, he wasn't deposed, he quit, but they say he was forced to quit. But the next guy that went in, who's the current guy, he's also has pro-Palestinian sentiments, or at least is more even-handed.
Okay.
Which resulted, I believe, in a cessation of arms sales. I know for a fact Spain's done it already. Spain's implemented the cessation of arms sales to Israel. They had a complete blackout of electricity in Spain for like 48 hours. I know people that live in Spain that told me about it. I used to live there myself. And they said that was retaliation, and the Zionists did it. I wouldn't be surprised, trying to send them a message.
Yeah. And Greta Thunberg, I'm gonna play this in the background while
I think it's pronounced Thunberg, something like that.
Thunberg.
But yeah, she's a Swedish
Swedish.
activist.
Yeah. Greta Thunberg. I'm gonna play this in the background while I can't play the volume because it'll get flagged. So Greta Thunberg and 12 other great brave souls got detained by Israel. And this was off the coast of
100 miles from Gaza. It
100 miles also near Egypt, right?
They left Egyptian waters.
Okay.
When they left Egyptian waters and were still international waters,
okay,
the Israelis, in an act of piracy, kidnapped them.
And that's the part that a lot of people have to understand. Like when we bring up these legal terms about an arrest being illegal in international waters, and when you are 100 miles away from Gaza, you're technically in Gazan jurisdiction. Israel has no right to arrest you because they don't have jurisdiction of those waters. If you were going towards Israel,
listen, before we get into this, I wanted to address a couple things I noticed about Rogan and the comedians talking.
Yeah.
So first off, he's equating the Palestinians, I'm talking about Rogan, with the Israelis, because he's saying both sides would shoot the boat. And that shows either massive ignorance, because the Palestinians were very welcoming of the boat. Even the Israelis were saying that the Palestinians wanted them to be there, that they're propagandists for Hamas. That part's a lie, but
they don't pay attention to the internet.
Mass ignorance about what's going on when they say that.
Right.
And also he called her a young girl, and at one point called her an autistic girl, which is just completely ableistic and even Nazi level rhetoric for Rogan to say something like that.
Yeah.
But she's 22 years old.
Yeah,
if you commit a crime at 22, if you commit a crime at 18, you're going to serve the same sentence as a 50, 60-year-old.
Right.
An adult legally is an adult. And not only that, we've had revolutionaries. Fred Hampton Sr., we talk about Fred Hampton. He was assassinated younger than Greta.
He was 21.
Exactly. And Greta's 22. And so to call him a young girl is sexist. It's ableistic, and it's fascist, really, for him to say something like that, which nobody should accept, even if it's in the context of joking.
Yeah, because it literally demeans the movement. And people like him and Piers Morgan are a part of the problem when it comes to this.
By the way, we intend to have a guest on future shows, but even though we're not going to have a guest this time, we're going to show a few videos, not just the ones we showed already. and we're going to discuss them. And people are free to comment and bring up ideas so we can bring on future shows as well. This is not live, but once you see the recording on our Roku TV, and we're going to show highlights as well through Twitter, YouTube. So let us know.
Yeah, and it's very sad when you see the grade in someone like Joe Rogan, who was more leaning left.
Oh, he interviewed Bernie Sanders and Lee Camp. He used to be a progressive comedian.
Right.
And now he's like the most highly paid podcaster.
Yeah.
He hangs out with Elon and Trump. I mean, he's totally sold out. It's totally gone to his head. And I brought up the idea FBI a couple months ago. I said, why doesn't Lee Camp debate Rogan?
Right.
It didn't end up happening. Lately, me and debates have not been luck, right? Me trying to
It's because they're scared of you, man.
Trying to facilitate debate between Lee and Rogan. It hasn't happened. I know Lee. I don't know Rogan. But that would be an interesting debate. That hasn't happened either. They used to be buddies back in the day. Rogan had Lee Camp on the show.
Yeah. No.
That was when Lee Camp was on RT already, so it wasn't that far back.
People are scared.
It wasn't like way back in the early 2000s. No, it was like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. But in the past couple of years, Rogan sold out because Rogan refused to interview Trump for a long time.
Right.
He got a lot of money. He moved to Texas, where the taxes are cheaper than California. He got greedy, and he basically sold out. And now we have him with all these despicable views that he's expressing.
Very despicable. And for the Madleen for the Madleen crew, we have 4 members.
What is
of the
that?
crew.
I've never heard that term, Madleen. Does it have to do with the MAGA movement?
Oh no, that's the name of the boat.
No, it's Madleen, I believe.
Madleen. See, thank you.
I thought you were talking about MAGA because we were talking about Rogan. Yeah.
So the Madleen.
Right back.
Yeah. So the Madleen crew, we have 4 people who have been. I covered a little bit of this guys on the TikTok. So we have 4 people who have been deported, sent home after being arrested in international waters, illegally arrested. This is a kidnapping. It's legally a kidnapping. It's legally. So I want y'all to understand.
I decided that we shouldn't show a video of the European leaders doing coke, because why put focus on those bourgeois fucks? I prefer to put focus on more on activists, real activists like Greta Thunberg, who's being called a white savior now, which is ridiculous. I mean, we'll get into that, but I mean, literally, she was just released, right? I thought she was still held.
It's her, Baptiste Andre, Omar Fafende. I can't pronounce his name. Omar Fafende. If you hear this, I apologize for saying your name incorrectly. And Sergio.
You might have been lucky and had it right.
Torbino.
Yeah. Sergio. He's a Spaniard. Yeah.
Sergio?
No, you don't pronounce it Gio like an Italian. So
the
G in Spanish is like an H. Sergio.
Yep. Okay, got you.
But you got the last name correct. It is Torbino.
Okay.
I'm glad you didn't say Torbino.
So we have to keep the watch on the remaining 8 who are still detained by the IDF in their country.
I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, because there's always conflicting reports. But initial reports said that they were given a choice to either was it Ashdod? Ashdod is a port that's near Gaza. I think it's where they forced them to bring their vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they stole the supplies on board, the baby formula.
Of course,
it's a security risk.
Of course,
but Ashdod, they gave them the choice to either fly out of Tel Aviv immediately back to their countries, or back wherever they wanted to go, or go to court. And I think court was in Jerusalem. So the 8 remaining are saying, you know what, let's fight this. Let's go to Jerusalem, which I think is a good tactic because they're going to keep up the protest. There's massive protests, for example, in France, right? I believe that's one of the countries they sent Greta to. They had a French parliamentarian. Do you know if the French parliamentarian was let go yet?
No, I don't believe so. But I agree, because there's also another caravan that is a coalition
coming from Algeria. Yes, last I heard, they're in North Africa. They left Algeria. They're in Tunisia on the way to Egypt, and from Egypt they'll try to go to Rafah, to the border with Gaza, to come in. Okay, that's a good list right there. Detained and deported. So
Yes.
Rima is still detained. That's the French parliamentarian.
Yes, she is.
What she's doing is very intelligent. She's keeping up the pressure by deciding to stay in Israel. That's
Right.
excellent. Let me grab a charger for my computer. I'll be right back.
No problem. And it's perfect that they are imposing this and staying, because the caravan is coming that we just talked about, and that's going to bring more tension right now, because people are trying to say, oh, Greta is a white savior and all this nonsense. Greta actually helped. This will go down in history. We're going to read about this in history books, just like how we learned about the Nazis in history books. She's going to be one of the catalysts with doing this that's going to apply more pressure, because you see a lot of activists are now also a part of it. And this was all planned. I don't know who started the plan. I don't know if it was Greta's team or if it was somebody else in the Middle East. Whoever started this plan, it's a very good plan. And I'm very happy that they are doing these caravans and they are showing up to expose Israel for saying that, oh, Hamas is the ones that's not feeding. When we're seeing videos.
Well, didn't they have,
was
it the defense minister Katz? The new defense minister, the old defense minister, arrest warrant against him from the ICC. But Minister Katz came out and said, when we capture these flotilla terrorists, we're going to force them to watch the footage from the Hamas
they did that,
on October 7th. And he's like, that will make any difference in their minds. None of that justifies what's going on in Gaza. But they just think force propaganda on these young people is going to somehow change their mind. That's the arrogance of Zionism.
Yeah, they think that showing them the video like they showed Elon Musk, that they're going to actually like change their ways. We are well aware.
They show Elon.
When Elon went on the tour, they had they didn't even, what's crazy?
Tour?
What's the
tour in Israel?
Yeah, he went on a tour in Israel because remember, he was against at first. He was actually subliminally being pro-Palestinian, subliminally. And then as soon as he went to Israel,
his father, interestingly enough, is pro-Russian. His father was just in Moscow. I don't know if he's left already. And the irony is that George Galloway, who's a Scottish, Irish socialist.
He's cringe.
Well, yeah, he has some views that are kind of reactionary now, but he used to be a socialist. He used to be active in South Africa fighting the apartheid regime back when Mandela was still in prison.
Right.
And the irony is, Galloway, who literally was fighting people like Elon Musk's father, who made his fortune off apartheid in South Africa, is now shaking hands and taking pictures with Elon's father in Moscow. I can't think of his father's name, Mr. Musk. But yeah, it's like, okay, so you sold out so much now that you're shaking hands and taking pictures with the very person that you always brag that you fought against. Because he always brings this up when the left attacks him. Oh, I was in the trenches in South Africa and did this and that. So then why are you showing you're such a sellout now?
He and Piers Morgan are so annoying. You know what I mean?
Just starting like Pierce, you attack Greta. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we got a video of that. But what was I going to tell you about Galloway? Oh yeah, when I started questioning Galloway was when he said he opposed Scottish independence. Yeah. This is a guy who's half Scottish.
Yeah.
And his reasoning was, if we lose the Scottish parliamentarians who are all progressive, Britain will become more right wing. I'd say then canvass more socialists in England. Why do that at the expense of Scottish freedom if most of the Scottish in their referendum want to be independent? So that showed me that he was kind of selling out. And then, of course, he started saying transphobic things. He started working with Max Blumenthal. And so when that stuff, and of course, his position on COVID. So by that time, by 2020, I already knew that. And I used to admire the guy a lot. He was very strong against the Iraq war. He went to Iraq before the war and all that. But at that point, I was very disappointed with Galloway.
Yeah, I mean, it's when it comes to Scotland and Ireland, 24/7 as a socialist, we support their independence.
Yeah, North Ireland should join the rest of Ireland. Actually, when Brexit happened, there was people on the left, not just Galloway, people like Corbyn, who I love. I wish Corbyn became prime minister. He supported Assange. He would have freed Assange then.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Corbyn,
still is. He's still alive.
The left of Bernie, Bernie's kind of wishy-washy on Israel and Gaza. Corbyn has not only said that Ukraine shouldn't join NATO, that Israel needs to get out of Gaza. He supported Assange. He's like right on every issue. I can't think of a single thing I disagree with Corbyn on.
I can't neither.
But Corbyn, what was going with this? Corbyn. Corbyn supported Brexit. And at that time, I supported Brexit. And I'll tell you why. Because I said this is the best way for Ireland to reintegrate with Northern Ireland and for Scottish to become independent. Why? Northern Ireland and Scotland are pro-EU.
Yeah.
So by England leaving the EU, it would make their independence a better shot. And by the way, Che supported Irish independence. I'm part Irish myself, so was Che Guevara. But yeah, there's a long history of Irish socialists that were fighting, Irish socialist Republicans, not in the sense of what American Republicans are today, that were fighting against the British Empire, that were oppressing them for practicing their religion, their culture, their language, the Celtic language, which the Irish originally brought to Scotland, their brothers, their Scottish Gaelic language as well. But people like Wallace and the freedom fighters in Ireland, what was his name? Connolly, all those guys in Ireland, they've always been my heroes. So the EU is a lot of times evil. It went along with NATO with the invasion of Libya. So I'm not pro EU, but I like that EU is weakened by England joining Brexit, and I like that the Irish people and Scottish people get a better chance in the referendums to have their will fulfilled as the majority, for Ireland to be integrated with Northern Ireland, and for them to be, Scotland to be independent would be great. Because to
people
this day,
don't know that
Irish Republic, Northern Ireland is still occupied by the British.
Yep. And people don't know this history. People don't know that this is a current history of Northern Ireland still occupied by the British. So this is why they are by no question being occupied.
Part of Spain is still occupied by the British. Gibraltar, the territory, the territorial waters between Morocco and Spain, that's occupied on the coast, on the Spanish side, by the British to this day as well.
Yeah. So there's no question that Ireland was staying with Palestine, because they are also understanding what it's like to be occupied. And that's the issue that a lot of people need to understand and get here.
By the way, they've been Protestant. If we bring Chris Ridgers on, he remember the names. He's really good at remembering names. Me, not so much. I remember the history, but he actually remembers the names of all these figures. There's been Irish Protestants that have fought for independence and want to unite with their Catholic brothers. So it hasn't always been religion, although religion's used to justify the oppression, much like the Zionists doing in the Middle East.
The oldest trick in the book. So, and then lastly, so of course, we support the Madleen crew, and we want them all to be free. We hope what they're doing instead helps bring more pressure to Israel. The last thing I want to address, are we seeing the last, like how with South Africa? We're both very young. We wasn't there when the South African apartheid government was finally collapsed. Do you think this is a
I was
forward?
Around then. I was around then. I think it was early 90s. I remember as a kid.
But you was a kid though.
Let me tell you.
Okay.
I was reading the newspaper when I was very young. I've always been interested in world affairs when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And I remember reading the newspaper, because remember, the Soviet Union didn't fall until 1991. I was already like 7 years old.
Right. Not to
so when I was 6 or 7, I was reading the newspaper already. And I remember reading the newspaper about the Soviet Union still being around. So it wasn't that back far in our history. In South Africa, I think it was even later, 92, 93. So I remember reading about South Africa. So I do remember at that time being aware of it.
Okay. So do you think Israel is on the moment of collapse with everything that's going on, the Yemen blockade, everything, the pressure from the world?
So the Zionists,
it's the same situation.
Hear me out. The Zionists are very supportive of Ukraine, and Ukraine's very supportive of the Zionists. So if Ukraine falls, I think Ukraine's going to fall first.
Oh,
if
that's
falls,
that's given.
There would be a domino effect. And so after Ukraine, and Russia has a more prominent influence in the region, Russia's more pro-Arab, we know that. Then I think, Russia's supporting Yemen, not Syria anymore, right? Hopefully that's reversed. But, Russia's supporting Yemen. By the way, Assad's still around. He's in Moscow. He might return to power in Syria. I've talked about that before. But I think that if Ukraine falls, if Assad is brought back in, and Russia has a more influential position in the Middle East, that'll really weaken Israel and force them to make some type of deal that's beneficial to the Palestinians.
But then you also got to think about Jordan, Saudi Arabia. Will they allow Israel?
Well, Saudi Arabia has very good relations now with Russia. They had bad relations with Biden, and as a result, they had better relations with Russia. So the Saudis now kind of reconciled with the West. So is India.
Yes.
But if Ukraine falls, then probably India and the Saudis will reconcile with Russia, which will make them have a better position in the world. And also China's continuing their strength and influence in different regions, including Africa, through soft power, through infrastructure building and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's segue our talk into a more domestic LA. To give a full grasp of what I have saw from my looking through social media how this riot started. There was a grocery store, and I can't think of the name right now, that was targeted by the ICE raids in Compton. And when ICE arrived,
Is that a suburb of LA, Compton?
Compton is a hood.
Oh, it's not a suburb. I shouldn't say that term because straight out of Compton. I remember those.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they would refer to as the ghetto.
It was considered a suburb in the 60s.
Yeah, but then the dynamics, not the dynamics,
the great white flight.
Yeah. Right. The demographics changed, the white flight, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. The white flight happened, and then a lot of African Americans started moving in as well too, and it became under resourced, poverty. They basically redlined Compton. This was designed for Compton to become a ghetto. It wasn't black people moving in and turning it a violent neighborhood. It was designed by banks, the system itself, to deprive these people of opportunities, and that's why Compton is the way it is right now. Just for the record, so people understand that. ICE blocked one of the main roads that the grocery store was on, and from the testimony of one of the people that was there, they said that people were getting out their cars wondering why this roadblock, what's going on, and ICE started throwing tear gas, just escalating it out of nowhere. And the guy that was
it's important to note that tear gas under American law is illegal to use against enemy combatants.
Yes.
Therefore, under American standards, the American people are more of an enemy to the government than the government in warfare in other countries.
Right. And so here we are.
I've been tear gassed, 5 years ago.
Thank God I haven't. Thank God.
And
I was close.
Well, I was very close to getting pepper sprayed before that, but tear gas makes pepper spray a walk in the park. It's a very serious chemical. It's killed people. It's caused miscarriages, like when women that were pregnant that got tear gassed.
Even women got miscarriages from tear gas
during Occupy. Yes, I saw it on video. I wasn't there for that particular attack, although I did see other acts of brutality against women by the police, especially NYPD, the Gestapo. But and they're doing it again in LA and New York. But yeah, there was pepper spray that caused miscarriage of pregnant women that show up to the protests. There was tear gas that did the same, and there was a young woman that had asthma that died from tear gas inhalation. And there was a specialist who said my apnea got worse because of the tear gas, but the lawyer still didn't go through on the case. Lawyers screw you over, whatever. But yeah, like there was literally a video of me getting tear gas without provocation. It was all on video. And I kept filming out there with tear gas and didn't want to leave because me, I'm an activist. I'm not going to leave. But
no, we don't leave.
Everybody around me was getting arrested. I had to do a withdrawal, but I stayed as long as possible. When there was like dwindling numbers, there was barely anybody. Then I decided to go. But I had plenty of opportunity to leave before that. And I said, hell no, I got pissed when I got tear gas. But it is a very serious chemical weapon that the United States doesn't even use against enemy combatants. Under international law, you're not supposed to use it against anybody.
Yeah, it's a chemical weapon. Like, they're not supposed to be doing that, but they do it because this is America. And
in the video, I don't know if I ever sent it to you. I was yelling out, somebody grab the canister. Who's got gloves? Somebody grab the canister and throw it, as somebody did.
And they threw it back.
Great, throw it back at the pigs.
Yeah. And so we're going to show some videos of what's going on in LA. And there's a video of a woman that we're going to show whose baby is taken away, but has not been confirmed yet if she was in LA. But it's going to be adding to understanding
throughout the country, regardless. This is the persecution that people are going through throughout the country.
Right, exactly. So here we go.
You just shut the fuck up. You okay?
Oh wait.
You might have to replay it.
Yeah, let's replay.
There you go. The first one.
Yep.
Is it letting you play the first one?
Yep.
That should be the second one where they attack.
Out of LA. You just shut the fuck up.
Oh, okay, that's the one you were playing. Yeah, so that was in LA. That wasn't the woman who their child being taken away. That was a Australian journalist who was doing her job.
Don't rub it.
Oh yeah, that was a status quo journalist, a British guy.
They're shooting at journalists. I just want y'all to see
He
this.
had leg surgery after that too. They shot his leg and they shot his car to try to get away.
He had to have leg surgery.
Non-lethal. They used non-lethal in Standing Rock. You know, it was in Standing Rock, and a woman almost lost her eye over that. Non-lethal can do a lot of damage too.
Yes, it can. Yeah, I have a few comrades that went to Standing Rock, and you know they got some stories.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, Nick's turn.
Fuck! Get in here.
What you say, Alex?
Nick Stern was the guy. He's one of us. He's with Status Quo. Yeah. Status Quo's allied with the Revolutionary Alliance, so he's one of us.
We are literally on press here.
Yeah, the woman yelling out press, I think that's Tina. I've been in touch with her. She's Status Quo as well. They almost shot her.
Where?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see if we get some of these journalists on.
I can DM. I know her.
Yeah, I also will work on.
She works with Zaina. That's who I was asking about earlier today. Zaina. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, look, like
Zaina's another contact of ours. I don't know if she was there, but
this is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like they started this riot, and Trump is just trying to pretend.
Well, it was against Newsom's. I'm not saying Newsom's saint, by the way, but it was against Newsom's will.
Right.
Some president did. Trump federalized the National Guard in Southern California. This is something he said that he would never do.
And they sent the Marines, Alex. Well, the Marines are already there.
The whole thing, and now they have all these Proud Boys and alt-right guys in SUVs. You know, probably guys with small dicks, right? They show up in their huge SUVs with their American flags and probably Confederate flags too, and the "Don't Tread on Me" bullshit. You know, the right-wing libertarians. And as the MAGA commies call themselves, libertarian Stalinists, they say don't support the protests, sellouts. Mm-hmm. This makes me angry that they don't want to debate me still. But anyways, there's these video of these SUVs, you know, pulling out from Texas or wherever these hicks are from to drive to LA to try to crush brown people to back up Trump's forces. And I say, why don't we send reinforcements then? It's time for us to see reinforcements. I'm sick and tired of this.
No. I like, for instance, this is
it's
what's going on.
Cowardice. The ACP came out with a declaration.
No talk to me.
They not support.
No talk.
Look what they're doing to women with babies, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
this is not in Palestine. This is here at home, trained by the IDF, of course. The IDF trained.
This is not Russia. This is not China. This is not Iran. This is the United States. Oh, it says NYPD. This happened in New York.
Yes, every day, even in New York. Every day. And these are Democrat areas as well. And these are not even ICE. Well, they're working with ICE, but they're NYPD. The NYPD are Gestapo too. They got away with doing shit like that all the time during Occupy. I saw
the most corrupt gang in the fucking world is the NYPD. Oh, or LA. I'm still trying to figure out between which one. LAPD, NYPD, they're just the same. Like
they had a video where Democrat supporters were going up to the police, to the mayor, to the chief of police. You promised us if ICE ever came, you were going to back us up. And they're working with ICE to arrest those people. Cops are fucking cops, man. They're fascists. Exactly. I don't want to hear any more about solidarity with the police. In a civil war, that's treason. We're almost a civil war now.
Look, they're defending.
Cops are the enemy.
That's a woman cop. Just witnessed a mother get.
Latina. She's speaking Spanish in the video. That's what we call that's what we call a traitor. That's
Hold
what
on.
we
Let me
call
put the video. Let me put the video
on.
On
her people. Spanish.
Pero no me toque. A mí no me toque. No me toque, te dije. La calle libre, a mí no me toque.
What you said, Alex?
In a revolution, she would be shot with the rest. It makes no difference if she happens to be Latina. No, I'm serious.
I know, but I wasn't ready for
Matter
that.
of fact, her death might be more cruel than the others for being a traitor. She might be shot multiple times instead of just once in the head. But this is what we need to talk about. We don't need to talk about, oh, some cops are okay. Oh, she was pressured into it. No, these are criminals. These are enemies. They need to be dealt with.
Yeah. I mean, like, what kind of morale do you have to work
By
a
the way,
job?
for those that don't know what just happened, what they just saw, because the video was kind of in and out.
Yeah.
There was a woman with baby in her arms.
I'll play it again.
Being beat up by no, don't play it again. I'm going to get too angry. I'm going to start breaking windows.
I got you.
But literally, like, there's a woman there with like 5 or 6 grown-ass men, all pigs, all cops, all fascists, surrounding her, beating her up with a baby in her arms. And finally they get it. Oh, maybe we should stop punching her with the baby in the arms. The baby can fall down and break its head. Then they grab the baby and they give it to a woman who's another fucking sellout. And the woman's a Latina, traitor, because one of the guys filming it is Hispanic and starts talking to her Spanish. She starts talking back in Spanish. These are all criminals that should be executed in a revolution. Like, if I was on a jury, if I was in a revolutionary tribunal to vote who should be executed, those would be among the first. No question.
This is a fascist government.
Nuremberg principles, brother. Nuremberg. You remember Nuremberg trial, World War II, post-World War II.
I remember.
So even the prison guards got executed. A journalist got executed for being a propagandizer of the Nazis.
Yeah.
It was people say, oh, it was just the top generals that got executed in Nuremberg. No, prison guards for following orders. So under Nuremberg principles, those cops would also be executed for what they were doing, including ICE.
Yeah, these are class traitors. Straight up class traitors. ICE covers their face, dude. They cover their face. My girlfriend.
The protester should not be allowed to wear masks while he's sitting in nameless, faceless Gestapo. And we had a Secret Service guy back in 2019 that showed up to the Venezuelan embassy who had a white supremacist tattoo on his body that we found out his name. It's in my book, Embassy Protectors. But the Secret Service and the ICE people that Trump recruits and sends to these places, they're all white supremacists. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's the reason why they're covering up their faces, because you're going to find out they have Nazi and alt-right ties.
Yeah, and my partner sent me a video, not video. She sent me a post of how people are now using ICE to rob. They're basically just
yes, I saw that. There was a guy with a backpack, and the cops decided they were thirsty and took the drinks out of the backpack and just ran off with it.
Yeah,
it wasn't saying, we need this as evidence, we need to inspect this. No, they just took it and ran off because they take it anywhere the fuck they want, because that's what incompetence is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not what competence. That's what impunity is. And when you have impunity, it encourages for these domestic terrorists to keep doing the crimes that they're doing.
Right. And I saw I saw a post of a man dressed up as ICE, goes into the grocery store, robs the grocery store, and walks out.
And that's a pretty smart thief.
Yeah. I saw a video of a woman, actually, because they covered it on the Breakfast Club. Black woman dresses up as ICE because she was mad that her boyfriend was cheating, went to the woman who's Latino and kidnapped her. Yeah. Who's Latina and kidnapped her.
Wow.
And the woman's in fear, like, oh my God, am I being detained?
You know how easy it is to get a fake ICE
girlfriend.
You know how easy it is to get a fake ICE badge and you could buy it on Amazon probably.
Jesus Christ.
You have all these faceless guys that are with our tax dollars doing these acts of domestic terrorism. You don't know how people insulted me on Twitter when I wrote in a tweet that these are domestic terrorists with one of the Gestapo raids or whatever. They were saying to me, even in Spanish, some of the sellouts went on, and they were like, we're going to find out who your family are. We're going to deport you, blah, 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 like threatening me just for
you're American.
It doesn't matter. Just for calling me domestic terrorist because they figured out my last name's Spanish. It's insane, bro.
This is getting too ridiculous. Like it's getting out of hand. And before we move on to the next video, because we're going to talk about the history, there's a really good eloquent video from an influencer but like now is the time for impeachment. Why is the Democrats so weak? Why is the Democrats so fucking weak to not get this man impeached? There's already Republicans that are against Trump anyway that are inside the Senate? Why aren't they trying to mobilize?
By the way, it's very important that I bring up ACP again, the American Communist Party, and their recent declaration. Their recent declaration purported the mandate myth that Trump had an electoral mandate, and is said to not support the protests in LA.